It was another quiet, average evening in the summer, in the middle of nowhere in a small city in Michigan. I was home alone for the night at my parents' house dog sitting while they were out of town. I moved out of my parents' house last year when I was 19 and moved into an apartment with two of my friends. I don't mind having them as roommates, but really it was nice to have the house to myself for once. This story I'm about to tell you is something that haunts me to this day. I don't think I could ever stay the night at my parents' house again, let alone by myself. Like I said, it was a quiet evening in your average small town in the US. My parents live on an old dirt road. They don't live in a neighborhood. It was more of a rural area. Each of their neighbors were at least a minute or two walk down the road. It wasn't the middle of nowhere exactly, but you get the picture. When my parents took off for the day, I stayed home all day eating snacks, watching movies, and playing video games. Everything was great, and nothing out of the ordinary happens until a bit later into the night, maybe around 10 o'clock ish or so. Suddenly, I heard this weird thud sound. I wasn't sure where it came from. It couldn't have been from inside because Sadie, my parents' dog, and I were the only ones in the house. I played it off as I told myself I am just overthinking and that it was nothing, until maybe 20 minutes later I heard it again, except this time it was a lot louder. Somebody was knocking on the front window next to where I was sitting in the living room. Keep in mind, I couldn't see anything because it was pitch black outside and I didn't have any outside light that would let me see much of anything at all out there. The only thing I saw was a very faint shadow of what I assumed to be a person. I started freaking the hell out and ran and locked myself into my parents' room and hid in their walk in closet behind some clothes. Who the hell could be knocking on my parents' window right now? Do they know I'm alone? What do they want? All these thoughts were running in my head. I must have sat in there for 45 minutes. I hadn't heard any other weird noises since, so I finally found the courage to go back out into the living room and investigate a bit more. I chalked it up to be that it was just probably some dumb teenagers ding dong ditching me or something. I used to do that all the time when I was younger, so I just let it go. I decided to make myself some pizza, and I turned a movie on in the living room. I got through the first one and decided to put another movie on. I started dozing off halfway through the second movie, and all of a sudden, an extremely loud thud and aggressive sounding knock was coming from the door, and someone was messing with the door handle trying to get it open. I woke up in a panic. I sat up quick and ran back to my parents' room. I must have called my mom 5 times in a row, but of course, no answer. My only choice was to call 911. The cops showed up in less than 10 minutes. They finally caught the guy red handed. He was wearing a mask and had a bowie knife along with handcuffs with him. Had the cops not shown up in time, who knows what could have happened to me. The man got arrested, and apparently he was a wanted fugitive on the run for murder. I'm sure he will be in prison for a very long time. My guess was he thought that there was no one home and was going to rob the place. You can never be too sure, though. I'm glad I never had to find out. I really love thunderstorms. It was pouring rain all night with lightning and thunder here and there. I was home alone with my cats, living my best life. This is what I would describe as my happy place. It was a Saturday night, which meant no work or school tomorrow. I wish every day was like this. Maybe then again, I don't. Not like this night in particular, anyways. Everything was great until it wasn't. I remember the last peaceful moment I had that night. I was sitting there in my bed playing Super Mario Bros. 3 on my Nintendo DS. When I'm bored and can't sleep, my DS is usually my go to. A lot of nights I play it until I doze off. I live alone. I don't have a girlfriend or any roommates either. I have like one good friend that comes over every once in a blue moon, but we don't do much. We just chat here at the house for a few until he leaves. You could say I'm a homebody, I guess. This one particular night, the strangest thing happened to me. I've told some of my friends, but no one really seems to believe me or take me seriously. I'm not sure what to make of it even to this day, and it drives me insane to think about. I was getting ready for bed, so I turned my DS off and I must have been asleep with only a minute or two afterwards because I was so exhausted. It wasn't until a few hours of sleeping peacefully that I awoke to multiple loud noises in the house, like footsteps and yelling and things being ripped through and thrown all around the house. I woke in a dreamlike state and it took me at least 30 seconds to fully realize what was happening. When I came to and realized that there were people in my house, I panicked. I was so scared I just didn't know what to do. My bedroom is upstairs and I could tell that the noises were from downstairs. I knew my brain wasn't just imagining things, so I crawled out my window, hung with my hands for a brief moment from the window until I built up the courage to let go. I said a little prayer, and that's all I needed. I let go and made it to the ground thankfully without hurting myself. I ran as fast as I could to the closest house nearby and called the police. By the time they showed up, the intruders were gone. They took some belongings of mine and left my house a disaster. I've never seen or heard from them again after this. I plan on moving as soon as possible because I'm terrified they will come back. I'm not sure if the cops will ever find who did this, unfortunately. I'm losing hope. It's already been 8 months, and I've heard nothing from the police. I barely even sleep at my place anymore. I usually stay at my parents' or a friend's. I'll be moving out soon as possible. I just can't take being there alone, especially at night. It also made me realize that anything can happen at any time, anywhere. So for that reason, I took some classes and bought a handgun. So that way I can carry it with me legally. Anyone who does this sort of thing, I hope you rot in hell. I don't really like talking about this story much, but here we go. So this took place around 5 years ago. I was 18 years old at the time, and I was home alone for the night. I didn't think much of it really. I had the house to myself quite often, actually. I liked it this way. My little brothers weren't running around being annoying, and my parents didn't bother me with the bedtime. A few of my friends and I were playing Call of Duty on Xbox 360. It was really just another ordinary night until I heard the doorbell ring. It was like 12:30 a.m., so that was super unusual, and immediately I sought that out as a red flag. I could feel the hair standing up on my neck as I approached the front door. I turned the porch light on and turned my living room light off at the same time as I was peeking out the front door to see if I could get a better look. Of course, there was no one there. I texted a few of my friends to see if they were messing with me, but they swore they weren't. I really didn't believe them, because who would be trying something as malicious as what the worst fears that I was anxious about in my head were? I live in a safe neighborhood, and in general a nice city, so I just played it off as my buddies messing with me. I went back to playing Call of Duty and forgot about what happened for a few minutes, until I heard the doorbell again, except this time they rung it at least 5 times and pounded on the door as well. I immediately dashed to the front door, opened it, and yelled, "Alright, enough is enough. Seriously, leave me alone or I'm going to call the cops." But it was quiet, almost too quiet. I walked down my porch to further investigate around the house to see if I could find anyone. As soon as I made the turn around the left side of my house, there was someone dressed in all black in a weird old man mask. He made direct eye contact. "Do it then," they said. "Do what?" "Call the cops, I dare you," the masked unknown person said. "Noah, stop messing with me, seriously. You about gave me a heart attack." I quickly realized it wasn't my friend Noah. He wouldn't continue messing with me like this after he knew how scared I was and run at me with a fucking knife. I booked it inside. I didn't even look behind me once. I locked the door and made sure all the other doors and windows were locked as well as fast as possible. I called Noah to see if it was him. He swore to me it wasn't and that I needed to get off the phone with him now and call the police immediately. I believed him. So that's what I did. I called the police. They showed up within only 5 minutes or so, and I told them everything I knew. They never found who it was. Still, to this day, I don't think it was my friend, but I wonder what the hell did that guy want from me if it wasn't my friend? I think my friend might have felt too bad for me to admit that it was him. I don't know what to make of it, or maybe that's my way of dealing with this, but I don't know. Maybe I'm in denial. I don't know. Either way, that was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. Maybe I need better friends.